Okay, y'all, let's build a cell. Here we go. The first thing that you have to have a cell, you have to have the container. The container of the cell is called the cell membrane and controls movement of things into and out of the cell. Okay, so the cell membrane decides what goes in and what goes out. It is semi-permeable or selectively permeable. Think it's like a filter. So those of you who have ever made coffee or seen coffee made, you see that little GIF there. You have the coffee filter, which has that little fine mesh. And even on the paper filters, they have that really fine structure in there. So it allows the water to go through, but it's small enough that the grains of coffee can't get through there. Okay, semi-permeable. It controls what goes into and out of the cell. Another way to think about it is it's a door. If you want to enter the cell, you got to go through the door, got to go through the cell membrane. So just like this GIF, this balloon here is the cell, and the tennis ball obviously is way too big to get through the side of the balloon, so it prevents it from going in. And so if you're going to go into the cell, use the door, go through the cell membrane. If you're going to go out of the cell, you have to use the door, go through the cell membrane. Okay, so the cell membrane, can we exist as a cell if we do not have a cell membrane? No, it is the container of the cell. So if the cell membrane ruptures, the cell will die. Okay, so it pops kind of like that GIF there, and it comes apart, and then the cell is done. Okay, so then the next thing that we have is the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is this jelly-like goo that fills the cell. It contains all the organelles. Think about it like it's a big swimming pool, and the liquid inside the swimming pool, and all you and all of your floaties are the cytoplasm. Okay, so it's like the water in a water balloon or in a jello mold. It allows the cells to move and flex and do all the cool things that we do. So as you're trying to move around, your cells can squish, your tissues can squish, and they can allow you to move. Okay, and then if you think about it like a jello mold, that jello is holding all of those little pieces of fruit in there, and those are like the organelles. Okay, so the next thing that we have in eukaryotic cells is the nucleus. The nucleus is the control center of the cell, and it contains that really important stuff called deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. That's the blueprint of the organism, you or your cat or whatever. Okay, so it's located in the nucleus. The nucleolus is the nucleus inside the nucleus. So it's like the circle with a little circle. Okay, so the nucleolus makes RNA, which you will study in some detail your freshman year in biology. We will not go over that today. So eukaryotes have the nucleus, prokaryotes don't, but prokaryotic cells do have DNA. Okay, so let's talk about the ribosomes. The ribosomes are the little grain-like structures that make proteins inside of every single cell on planet Earth. So grain-like structures in all cells. I said this in my own way. I said ribosomes because I remember ribs, and I think ribs are protein. It's meat, protein, ribs, ribosomes make protein. Okay, so they're so small that each cell can contain millions of these things. They're teeny tiny. Okay, and they're in every single cell because all cells have to make protein. Okay, so the Golgi complex is next. So we package and ship proteins and lipids around the cell, just like UPS. It packages it up and it ships it off to where it needs to go. The Golgi complex looks like a stack of pancakes in a cell diagram, kind of like this, or like that. Love pancakes. So those little balls on that picture are the Golgi vesicles. So it makes this, it packages it up by pinching a little part of itself off, and it floats through the cell and delivers it where it needs to go. Then you have waste being made by the cell. So it's like the garbage man of the cell, the lysosomes. It contains powerful chemicals that break down waste, and it is taking care of that in animal cells only, so not in plant cells. Okay. And then the mitochondria, the mighty mitochondria. It's the power plant of the cell. It usually looks like a little bean with a zigzag inside of it because of its internal structure. Okay. And then you have the endoplasmic reticulum. So the endoplasmic reticulum transports material through the cell, and it usually hugs the nucleus. It can be confused with the Golgi because it kind of looks the same, but it's usually close to the nucleus, and the Golgi is floated off to the left. So you have the smooth ER, and then the rough ER is covered with ribosomes and kind of looks like sandpaper. Okay, so let's move on to plants. There's some key differences, as you all know, about between animal and plant cells. So the first is its shape. So the outside of the plant cell has a stiff outer barrier, which is called the cell wall. and it serves as structure and protection because remember, plants don't have skeletons. They just sit in place. They're kind of boring. So they also have a large central vacuole, or LCV. The large central vacuole is where most of the water, when you water a plant, it goes into the large central vacuole. It's fluid filled and it holds waste and makes substances needed for the cell. It stores water and food for the plant. It also breaks down waste for the plant. So this is also the place where the plant decides whether it's going to be wilted or not wilted. So if you water the plant, the water goes into the large central vacuole, and as it gets enough water in there, you have this thing called turgor pressure, which is this little water-filled balloon pushing out on the outside of the box. It goes, it makes the plant stand up nice and tall. And then when it doesn't have enough turgor pressure, the plant's wilted. Okay, and this is usually the largest structure in a plant cell diagram. Okay, and then most important organelle on planet Earth. So the chloroplast, this is where photosynthesis happens in plant cells. So this is where in the plant, the sunlight hits it and it converts radiant energy from the sun into chemical energy called glucose and fuels our entire food chain. So inside the chloroplast, they're filled with these flat stacked discs called thylakoids. And this is where it contains the pigment and all the chemistry happens. Okay, so the chloroplast, on average, there are 100 per cell, and there's more on the outside and the upward facing parts of the plant than the inside. And that's it. We're done.